How y'all doing? How y'all doing? This is Alvin with Trying Success on the Old Fashioned Health Network. Good health inside and out. So listen, I got my main man, Arlonzo, on the show with me today. This is our final show for our Black History series. And what a better way to end it than talking about manifestation to make your life better. This man has an amazing podcast that talks about manifestation, and I know he has a little information to share with us about being positive during these times of all kind of things going on, especially during this Black History time. We got a lot of racism and stuff like that, and sometimes you can feel like that's holding you back. But Arlonzo is going to teach you about manifestation, how you can go beyond what seems to be negative. And he has an amazing story himself. So, hey, man, tell him a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. My name is Arlonzo, and I've been studying this information for about 12 years now, and I've experienced it. I know it works because I started out leaving the Army and hitting real life. Life hit me really hard, and from that process, from that struggle, I stayed positive. I continued to study this stuff, and I learned how to make it work for myself. And so now I just spend my days just literally teaching a process that I use that works for me. And I've been seeing other people get the same success. And I want to spread this to as much people as possible.
Okay. So let's just jump right into it. So I've been watching your podcast, your Instagram and TikToks and stuff like that. And this man is so dedicated to this thing. He always has a notepad and he's writing down things and telling people, all the steps they could go through. I noticed you like a lot of Norman Vincent Peale books, stuff like that, and Napoleon Hill. You reference those a lot, which Napoleon Hill is one of my favorite writers, one of my favorite amongst many. And you have a way of convincing people, and you tell the truth about don't expect things to happen overnight. So with that being said, I have a few questions for you.
For sure. Let's
start with, since this is Black History Month, we know some of the things we're dealing with right now, just out the gate, is racism is so high right now. And people may want their lives to change for the positive. What would you tell us as a people? How can manifestation help us when it comes to dealing with racism in our everyday lives?
That's a really good question. What I normally ask people when they come to me about racism, or they say, hey, this person is stopping me for something, I always ask them, can they stop God? Because there's only one source of supply, and all things come from that one source. So if the person that you're saying can't stop God, they have absolutely no reason to be able to stop you either.
Man, that was a good one. I cannot think of a better source. I hear our Coach Prime. Of course, I went to Jackson State, so I had to slide Jackson State in there when I get a chance to. He talks about how good God is, and he talks about how your mind can make you, is a stage to set you to doing what you want to do, to achieving the things in life. And you talk about that a lot. And when you talk about racism and you trying to better your life, you're trying to have a business, you're trying to go about your life, and you talk about in your stories about how you have to focus on the positive and not the negative, staying in the light. And I like that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so say for instance, I want a new car. And I know people always think when they think manifestation, the first thing they think about is I want to pay all my bills, and I want my bank account to be fat, and I want a new job, and I want the love of my life in some kind of order. What do you tell people when they give you that list of stuff? Says, Lonzo, listen, I need a better job, and I need some more money in the bank, and oh, by the way, I need my bills paid. What do you tell them?
I will ask them, what do you really want? I will say to them, go after what you want. Go after something that if you accomplish that one thing, it will take care of everything else. Most times the success comes in successions. If you're going after something big, then you're going to get everything else in that process. But if you're trying to go after something small, then it won't motivate you enough. It won't inspire you enough to actually go after it. So I always tell people, if you want a new car, I might ask them, have you ever bought a new car before? And they say yes. But that don't constitute as a goal. You should go get the car, of course, but a goal is not to get, it's something to grow. You have to grow into that. So if you know how to get it, it doesn't count as a goal. Your goal, you should have absolutely no way of how to get it. You should have no clue of how you're going to accomplish it.
So it shouldn't be something easy.
It shouldn't be. It should be. All things are possible. You're going to get it.
Right.
The only time if what you're doing is limiting yourself. You see, it is just as easy for spirit to give you a Cadillac as it is for it to give you a Tesla. It's the same thing to spirit. It's no difference. There's no big or small to it. If you ask for the Tesla, you'll get that. If you ask for the Cadillac, you'll get that, or whatever it is you want.
So when I'm
aim big.
So when I'm understanding aim big, it reminds me of a lot of things I've gotten in my life. Is it possible sometimes we've practiced manifestation and don't realize we were really in the manifestation process? We didn't know what to call it, and we be like, this is exactly what I dreamed about. I put it on, and then it happened, but we just hadn't given it a title yet. Is that what happens? Absolutely.
You are always manifesting something. You're manifesting something at this moment. It's just most people are not conscious of what they're manifesting.
So I know and I notice that a lot of your manifestations teachings, some of it comes biblically and some of it comes from, some of it is not necessarily biblically all based. And I like the fact that you leave room for people to have a spiritual mindset. So what do you tell people when they say, well, I read in the Bible, it says, so as a man thinketh, so is he. We familiar with that, both of us from the South, right? And so you start thinking, okay, well, it says if I think this, then I am this. Is that how manifestation works?
Yes. So most people think manifesting is something they can turn on and turn off. We are always manifesting something, regardless if you're consciously aware of it or not. So you really want to pay attention to your own thinking, because whatever you're thinking and you're dwelling upon, that is what's coming into your life. Now, it may not come when you want it to, but it is coming. It's on its way.
What about a person that deals with homelessness? So let's just say you know, oh man, there's so much I can go with this. I also noticed you said something about the fear. People, stuff they fear is one of the things that bothers them. But let's just say a person is thinking that I'm worried about paying my bills. It seems like what people worry about the most is stuff that don't normally happen. So you go in thinking about every day, I got to pay the rent, I got to pay the mortgage. And you cause yourself to struggle. But you had a message about that. What was it? What was your message about worrying about stuff that hadn't happened?
I believe from my experience, 90% of the things we worry about never happens. We literally worry about things that never even come to pass. So I would recommend to look past that. You know, it's easy to get stuck right there at the first of the month, but we have to be able to look past our bills, looking past our problems, because if we learn to look past it, the problems will come and go, and we won't even realize we have already overcame them. We'll be looking past something else, and we have overcame our problems without even understanding or knowing what we're doing. And that's because we're looking past and we're not like stuck at the problem, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. How strong is the practice of manifestation? How strong would you say that really is? You feel it's really, really as strong as stronger than we even know?
Is what all things are possible in spirit. You can have anything you want. There's absolutely no limits to what we're capable of doing. We've proved that time and time again. It was impossible for us to fly at one point in time. And here we're flying all the time. 10 years ago, when I was in high school, there was no such thing as electric cars. Now electric cars is flying. You would have told me about electric cars in 9th grade, I would have thought you was crazy. But now we're driving electric cars all the time.
I can't even start to tell you. I don't even want to go back to tell you how far stuff I could go back to and be like, wow, we actually got phones we can walk around with and talk on and watch television.
Exactly. We should be at a point right now where nothing is impossible.
Because we've seen a lot already.
We've already seen it. Wow. Absolutely.
How does manifestation work when it comes to illnesses and sickness?
Well,
in your opinion?
That's a great question. From my understanding, and from my understanding, I would never tell a person stop taking medication or stop doing any of that stuff. But we have to understand that mind and body is one. If we have an illness in the body, it originated in the mind first. And if we want to heal the body, then we must heal our mind. The subconscious is the healer of the body, and it accepts any idea that you give it to it. So if you're constantly giving yourself perfect health, if you see yourself in perfect health, time and time again, that will manifest in the body. It has no choice. You see, our body isn't thinking. Our body is an instrument of the mind. So it does what the body tells us to do. Right. And if we're paying attention to our own thinking, if we're literally consciously over and over thinking of perfect health, then that will manifest through our body.
Okay, so let's just leave room for some of the people that said, I had. That's y'all forgot to put my phone on vibrate. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Let's just say we're talking about a person that has a terminal illness, and they've manifested and thought, but then they thought that they lost the battle because the person passed away. In my mind, I would think that everything that you manifest, if it does not come the way you think it's supposed to come, what is that? What do you tell people that tell you, well, Alonzo, listen, I manifested my loved one we'd be healed, and my loved one did the same thing, and they wasn't. So what do you tell that person about how manifestation work with something that doesn't work the way we think it's going to work?
Yeah, I've experienced that, and like I think we were raised to believe, like, as far as death, I used to fear death a lot, but from understanding, I don't fear it at all anymore. You see, we're spiritual beings, and if that is true, spirit cannot be created or destroyed. And since spirit cannot be created or destroyed, that only postulates the theory of life. There is no such thing as death as we know it. So just because we cannot see something doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So I think we have to understand that. I think we have to really understand that we can communicate with people through thought. Thought is energy. And again, just because we don't see the physical does not mean that it doesn't exist, because spirit cannot be created or destroyed at all.
Okay, so for the one and more in layman's terms for them. So let's just say my mother passed away some time ago from cancer, right? And I meditated and prayed and stuff like that, and you be wanting people to heal. So basically, the time that does not happen that you think meditation is supposed to happen, the universe or the environment or spirit is saying that particular thing that you are manifesting or trying to manifest is not supposed to be part of your life at that time?
See, we do not know the bigger scheme of things. We are only limited to our own perspective. So we don't know the effects of what's going on behind the scenes. And I believe the spirit is always working behind the scenes. So we don't know why, sometimes we don't know why things happen. We may not figure that out until later on. So I just think that, sometimes we have to learn to understand that, hey, we did our part. This could have been better for both sides. You just never know, because, again, I think spirit is always working behind the scenes, okay. And that could always lead to something better or something that's more. And again, from our limited perspective, it seems like, oh, this is tragic. This is bad. This is horrible. But again, you don't know the bigger scheme of things. We don't know, the bigger things of life and how that can possibly turn out later on in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. For me, I've always realized that there's been things that I've tried and thought that, you remember Oprah had this thing about putting stuff on the board, the manifestation board. And a lot of people do that. But what I've learned from my own self is, if I'm going to believe in spirit and I'm trying to manifest something to happen, and if it doesn't happen even the way, the time, or happens at all, then I yield it back over to spirit to say that wasn't part of what you're supposed to have. So I'm thinking, to me, manifestation is everything that the universe has available to you. So something that you want is just not part of your universe to happen. To me, that's how I feel about it. If it has not, I can't say if it has not happened. Like, the best I could use example is believing that you can manifest someone back to health that may not make it at that point. For me, it was like that wasn't part of what the universe had for me. I had one desire, but the universe like, nope, that's not one of the things that I know you're trying to manifest it, but this is spirit now that's a little stronger than your manifestation of what you think you're supposed to have. Is that a good way of looking at it?
I think that's a great way of looking at it.
Okay. What is the most sought out questions people ask you when it comes to manifestation? I know it's gonna be something crazy. What do they ask you for, and how fast do they think it's supposed to happen?
They ask me for, man, I get some crazy stuff. I get, can I manifest $90,000 in a 2-month span? And I'm not saying that's not possible, but when it comes to manifesting, what you're doing is taking invisible energy, formless energy, and you're moving it into physical form. That don't happen overnight.
Right.
That takes time. And, always remember that time is governed by a natural law. We don't know the time. We're always guessing at the time. That's a law of gestation. Law of gestation states that there's an incubation period before spirit manifests into physical form. It takes, a carrot 70 something days. We know a baby takes 290 something days, but an idea is a spiritual seed, but it works just the same by the same laws. And we are guessing at that spiritual seed. We don't know when it's going to manifest, but it must manifest because it works by the exact same law.
So let me ask you this. When people ask you about a relationship, so for instance, I think personally, manifestation also works like you might want to be careful what you're asking for the universe to manifest for you, because it doesn't necessarily mean in my mind that what you're trying to manifest is something that you actually need, but you manifest it and then happen, then you realize, yeah, I'm gonna need you to take that back, or I'm glad that I didn't get it. I like the other thing that manifestation does, that you manifested something so bad to be a part of your life, and the universe didn't give it to you. And then the great thing about manifestation that I like, it shows you why it wasn't good for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then you normally see it afterwards, it's afterwards you see, like, you have to look back and say, oh, I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Yep.
It happens to me many times.
Oh my God, I could just, and I'm gonna tell you some of my manifestation stories. I can tell you, man, quickly. Like, there's been things that I've manifested in my life that I wanted. So there's been things I've manifested I really, really wanted, and then there's things that I've gotten that I was like, so that thing I asked you about, God, I'm gonna need you to take that back. That ain't. But it's like, no, you manifested so you can see the bigger manifestation that's better for you, right? And then there's been things that I did not in the world know how it was going to happen. But I believed it so strongly until it did happen. And it was a time, it's like us being in the studio here. You don't understand, or you do understand, the manifestation in my mind to being able to be where we are today here at the network was like, it had to take some steps to get there. Because had the manifestation came too soon, sometimes you're not ready for the manifestation that you're asking about. It's not time. And if you get it too soon, it's not going to work out for you. It's timing, just like you say, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree with that 100%. 100%.
What has been the biggest thing that you've manifested that you could tell us that actually happened for you?
Well, it's plenty. It can be plenty. But I think one of the biggest thing that people like hearing about me manifesting is money. I've manifested money before, but I also manifested something that is dear to my heart. And this is how I really found out it. This is when I really took notice.
Okay.
I have been homeless for a long time. Well, not too long, but I have been homeless for a couple months. And I've always wanted to move to Houston. So all through this time when I was homeless and sleeping outside, I continued to read these books. And before I fall asleep, I used to visualize myself walking my daughter to the bus. Like, this was the one thing that I always wanted. I had to manifested money. I had to manifested different things, a car, and the little things that most people think of when they think of manifestation.
Right.
But it was impossible in my mind for me to get to Houston. I could never find a way to get there. And I would just every night I would visualize myself walking my daughter to school and just talking to her and smiling.
Right.
And then I can remember I let it go. I stopped doing it. And then 3.5 years later, I had been walking my daughter to school for about 2 weeks before I realized what was going on. And
Wow.
at that moment, it hit me and I just started crying. I literally started crying because I knew what I had did. I knew it. Like it's different when you know what you did.
Right.
And I knew it because I had been studying and I had been practicing it. And like I said, I have seen it work in many different occasions.
Right.
And sometimes we can pass that stuff off as coincidence. All that would have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew this was no accident.
Right.
I knew what I was doing because I used to visualize a specific thing and I would visualize her saying a specific thing. And then I realized she was saying it. And I got so full of joy, all I wanted to do was teach everybody. And I just started telling everybody for free. I literally just wanted to tell everybody about it. And that's what I started doing. And I've been doing it for about 2.5 years now.
Man, I hope people believe you. And I believe me, when we having this conversation about manifestation, I am here to tell you it sure enough works. It
works.
You have to be patient and you have to stay focused and look beyond all the negative things on the side of the road. I always say you got to have tunnel vision for your manifestation. Don't look on either side of the road because you'll run off the road and then it won't happen. It'll happen.
Absolutely.
When it needs to. But man, I have manifested, and like you said, things you would be like, wow, I remember imagining this to be a part of my life, and
exactly
I forgot about it. This is the last thing I tell you, and then we'll close it out. I wrote. This is a story. I wrote a letter to myself asking God for 10 things that I wanted to happen in my life. And I put it in an envelope. I sealed it up. I addressed it to myself. And I said the return address was from the book of Habakkuk. So at the top I had the book of Habakkuk. And then where it was going to was my address. I put a stamp on it and I mailed it in 2008. The envelope came back to me 2 or 3 days later, like it was somebody had mailed it to me. I looked at it. I have not opened it yet. And every time I think I want to open it, there was only one thing in that list that I remembered that I asked God for that has already happened, and that was for me to buy a house and pay it off. And I did that. But now here's the thing about manifestation. Now, hear me when I said pay it off. I bought a house and I sold it. And it was paid off. So manifestation happens in a way when you tell it, you got to tell the story right. I can't tell people I got $280,000 paid off. I got the house. I was ready to sell it, sold it, and it was paid off. I cannot remember the other 9 things that's in that letter. And every time I think I want to open it, it tells my spirit says not yet. But that's me believing, writing the vision down, because I heard you say write it down. I've heard you say that, write it down. I wrote it down, put it up, and mailed it to myself, and I'm waiting on the right time to open it. So that's just how much I believe in manifestation, and that's how come I know. Please believe him. When y'all please listen to this man. Make sure you follow him, because Arlonzo is serious about this. And you listening to a man that was at one point homeless. I don't know if you can get it. For me, you can't tell me something you ain't been through yourself.
Yeah.
So you've been through it.
Absolutely. 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 I think that we live in an age where people can watch a YouTube video and claim they're experts and start teaching it, even if they never lived it.
Right.
So I know I lived it. I know what I'm talking about. This works. Decide what you want. Doesn't matter what it is. Decide what you want.
Doesn't matter.
And hold the idea. Just hold the idea, and it will come. It has to. That's natural laws. It has to come.
And I like the fact you tell people, don't think small. Don't be shortchanging God. You ask him for $10, we can give you 10,000. Why would you just ask?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's because people shortchange themselves. It's why they give up on it. See, it's not inspirational. If they was going after something they really want, it don't matter how long it takes.
Right.
It don't matter if you really want it. You're gonna wait for it. But if it's something that you really don't want, you see a nice car and you say, "Oh, I get that." I'm trying to manifest that. If it don't come in a week, you're going to quit on it. You got to go after something that you really, really want, something that you're not going to quit on. That way you can give things time to materialize.
Right.
It's so important.
Brother, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You know, we're gonna do this often because people need to hear a positive word as often as they can. So, Arlonzo, thank you so very much for coming on the show with me. Please tell people how they can find you and all on your social media and whatever information you want to share to tell people how to keep up with you.
Yeah, just follow me on TikTok. I go live every day. I just answer questions Monday through Friday at 7:30 Central Time. Follow me on TikTok at manifestation.consultant. That's it, at manifestation.consultant. You can follow me there, private message me there. I'm here to help anybody else. My goal is to help 20,000 people this year manifest whatever it is they want.
I'm sure you'll pass that.
I will.
Man, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate you. You make sure you have a great week. And and y'all make sure you share, watch, and like this video and send it out to as many people as you can. Then y'all share, follow, and like Try Success. And follow Arlonzo.
Thank you so much for having me, my man.
All right, man. Thanks for being on the show. Have a great one.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.